Yo, what's up everybody? It's Jason. I'm back with a video and the last installment in this series. This is the Forgotten Finds series. A little challenge given to us by George G over at George G's Room of Rock. A great one for February, cold winter months, stuck inside. He gave us the challenge to go and investigate the collection and pull out a couple records each week. At least that's how I interpret it anyway. A couple records per week that you have not listened to in a long time. He's saying 5 to 30 years in some cases. So I've got two more for this series. I've already highlighted some classic Canadian rock, some underground Canadian garage punk, some hip hop, and I've got some hip hop again for this one as well. So today we are going to be discussing the debut album by 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, and various supports. Really great production on this record. Pretty Hate Machine. And we're also going to be talking about the one, the only, Del, the Funky Homosapian, which I'm not sure if he had many other albums under this name after this one, but this is his debut, and came out late 80s, I'm thinking. There's no date on this because this is actually a bootleg copy. So we will get into all this stuff. Industrial versus hip-hop for this round. Two albums have been, well, in one case, the bootleg has been in my collection for a long time, probably at least over 10 years. The 9 Inch Nails, I've picked up reissue copies and sold them and brought them back into the collection off and on. But been a fan since Head Like a Hole. That's where it all began for me for 9 Inch Nails back in the late 80s. It's hard to believe that 9 Inch Nails album is actually 1989 because it's such a 1990s sound. So yeah, why don't we kick it off with the 9 Inch Nails record then? I guess we'll talk about this one first. Despite having it off and on in my collection, and despite my favorite track of all time, really, by 9 Inch Nails, Head Like a Hole, I never really listened to the whole album that much. Kind of skipped over it. I was thinking about this the other day, like when this came out, it was kind of not Johnny Come Lately, but we had definitely, at that point, we already had experienced Cab Voltaire, Ministry, the synth stuff of Ministry, Skinny Puppy, Frontline Assembly. So this was kind of like the junior kid on the block, this new upstart producer named Trent Reznor. Lo and behold, we would see much later those YouTube videos of him doing some new wave synth pop as well before this project. But yeah, this is his baby, and the launch of NIN. What a huge journey it's been, really, for 9 Inch Nails. I remember when this came out, I don't think anybody really thought it was going to take off as big as it did, or that he'd be doing future soundtrack work and compositions and that kind of thing. But yeah, the video was sick. Very industrial dance. And really, really great timing, because if you think about some of those other bands I mentioned, Skinny Puppy, Cab Voltaire, Cab Voltaire started all the way back into the 70s in a very experimental, like true blue kind of industrial experimentation sound, and then got funkier and more synth and dub influences. But them, Skinny Puppy, Frontline, all in the 80s, all before a little thing called alternative music, took over. Sure, it was a lot of alt rock, but alternative in the 90s kind of branched out into like fusion sounds, funkier sounds, samples, and breakbeats, of course. And this record came along, and like I said, I always assumed this was a 1990s release, or 1990 anyway, but it says 89, so there you go. It's on the cusp, right? And just took off from there. Of course, Ministry also played well in the 90s too, mixing up their sound with heavy guitars, etc. The production on this thing is totally sick. Adrian Sherwood, again, the man, the legend from Tackhead. And he's also got fellow Tackhead, the producer, along board, Keith LeBlanc on this thing. And you can hear some of those dub effects and sound stylings. Also, amazing production in here by Flood of Depeche Mode. So, man, tons and tons of synth lines. I mean, just killer synth lines. I would say maybe the only drawback to this record is sometimes Trent's vocals can get a little bit screamy on your nerve after a while. He doesn't really vary too much. I don't know if he's varied more in later albums. To be honest, I've never really listened to a full other Nine Inch Nails album after this one. So there you go. Got to pick up some, I guess. I've heard bits and bobs and different songs, but this is the debut, and man, what a cool debut! I love it pretty much top to bottom, except for maybe some of the slightly slower paced tracks. The only other criticism I would say too is like on the lyrical side, it's very like kind of teenage angst, relationship angst. Going through relationships or getting, you know, uh, getting shunned or whatever by a relationship. It's not exactly the kind of subject matter or topic that you usually come across for industrial. Usually it's something much bigger picture, societal dysfunction or dystopian or science fiction or whatever. But here it seems it's a bit more on the personal side with Trent Reznor throughout, and that almost comes across a little bit cringe almost at this day, or this time and age. Maybe in the times when this album came out, he was still in his like early 20s or whatever. But so putting aside some of the lyrical content, man, okay, so it starts off with Head Like a Hole, absolute killer. Terrible Lie is wicked, and Down in It is wicked. So the first three tracks, absolute bangers. Sanctified, okay, Something I Can Never, this is where it's getting a little iffy. Second side kicks in with Kinda I Want To, absolute banger. Lots of really cool samples and stuff going on. I mean, this is almost like he says on here actually in the liner notes he's influenced by Public Enemy. You can definitely hear the influence of the Bomb Squad and like their production technique going wild. And there's even some scratching going on. So a couple of the scratches and samples definitely uh, give a nod to the fact that this is in late 80s record, but also in the 90s they were doing some of that as well. In fact, I think one of the tracks is kind of a rap. I think I'm not sure which one it is now. Let me just see here. Oh well, yeah, it's Down in It actually, which is one of my favorite tracks. He's kind of got this little bit of a rap thing going on. Yeah, and I would say like that's what I get. I think is like his slow jam love industrial version of love song that is just not hitting very well on this record. So a couple of those things sort of hold it back. I think for being a 10 out of 10 record for me, I would give this an 8 out of 10. Production wise alone, it could be a 10 out of 10. In fact, the first time I was playing it again after many many years. I was thinking, oh, I wish I had like an instrumental version of this record without Trent's vocals. So what I did after a while actually is I turned down the mids on my mixer just to kind of put his vocals a little bit further back in the mix. His vocals are quite out front in the mix, very loud. And yeah, they're cool at first, but after 10 songs of it, you're almost wishing there was like a second vocalist or a little bit of a switch up, maybe an instrumental track here and there, but not to be found on this debut album by Nine Inch Nails. So a banger nonetheless, giving it an 8 out of 10, and glad that I finally got around to really poking into the whole album. And yeah, it's good. It's solid. Maybe I won't sell it this time. I think I keep selling it because I really want to get an OG copy of it. But this pressing actually sounds pretty good. All right, how about a pressing that doesn't sound very good? This is a bootleg copy. But it's the only one I could find out there for Del the Funky Homosapian. Now, Del, of course, is well known as the cousin of Ice Cube. His much more famous cousin, but also he's a member of the Hieroglyphics crew, which is Souls of Mischief, kind of like late 80s, early 90s, still in the golden era. Hip hop posse from Oakland. He's from Oakland, and goes on to be part of like the Lynch Mob, which is Ice Cube's crew. Gorillas. He does some rapping on Gorillas, I think. And then, of course, he's also known, I think, in the 2000s as Deltron Zero. So he continues to rap, and he under different names. But this is where it all kind of begins with Del the Funky Homo Sapien. And the one hit single from this one with the big video that we all loved, Mr. Dabalina, second track on side A. I don't have a lot of info on the back here other than the tracks and some of the samples that they used. There's no date or anything on this. The record also looks extremely, like I said, bootleg. Just simple. Had to get it on vinyl. You need it on vinyl, so here it is. It's a loud pressing, like lots of kind of noise and dirt in between the tracks. Loud in that sense, but also quiet in the sense of the music. So you have to kind of adjust some of the gains and stuff to get it going. But man, here's a testament to a good album. Despite the bad pressing, this is a killer record. A lot of really good tracks. Maybe the one criticism I'm going to say is maybe a little too many songs, right? We're up into 14 tracks. This is getting into the CD era. In fact, when we were younger in high school, I think we had this either on CD or cassette. I never had this on vinyl. Never saw it on vinyl. Maybe it didn't come out on vinyl. I mean, there could have been like the European pressings on vinyl or something like that. But yeah, lyrical content. He's kind of pissed off in a way. It's kind of like a little bit of a rant. It's a lot of hot takes. This is Adele hot take record here on race, girls, rappers that dance. There's a kind of a diss track on about dance hip hop called "Pissing on Your Steps." Ironic because it's a super funky track, really funky track. In fact, the whole album is extremely funky. A lot of G-funk style beats and samples on this thing. Super George Clinton. I mean, George Clinton should have been. It should have been like featuring George Clinton or whatever. But he's also sampling James Brown and Fred Wesley and stuff too. There's cool ass samples. Donald Byrd. The Piston on Your Steps is a sample, I guess, by Boogeyman. It's really cool. They listed all the original artists in right on this cover. Maybe they didn't do that on the original pressing of this, but I would say all of side one is top to bottom excellent. Um, Despite his dissing, he's very laid back with his rhyming style too. So it's not, he's not shouting, he's not in your face. Ice Cube makes some guest appearances off and on. It's really kind of fun. The Wacky World of Rapid Transit is fun. It's kind of like a diss about taking the bus. Yeah, he's got some sort of pro-black commentary, social commentary. Side B kicks off with a little prelude, and then Dr. Bombay, which I'm kind of like 50-50 on it. I think it might have been like the second single. It's got a single kind of feel to it, but it's also got a massive George Clinton feel to it. Again, with these George Clinton samples, and Ice Cube did it a lot on his, especially his second or third, maybe third or fourth album, like The Predator and Lethal Weapon. I think he actually just straight up did a cover of Bop Gun. For me, at this point, I would have already discovered George Clinton's records, Parliament, Funkadelic. I'd probably rather, definitely nowadays, I would rather just listen to the original George Clinton track than some of these rap interpretations. But anyway, Dr. Bombay is there for you if you want to check it out. It's over 4 minutes long. Most of them are 3 to 4 minutes. Sunny Meadows, Sleeping on My Couch, kind of gets whatever. But I would say it sort of wanes a little bit at the beginning of side two for the first like 3 to 5 songs. Then Same Old Thing, second last one is kind of fun. It's good sort of chorus, sing along. It's a sample from Same Old Thing by the Meters. So if you know that, then you know this. And the very last track is just a minute and a half, but it does manage to sample some Donald Byrd, you little crumb snatchers. So there you go. They're very young. This is him and his posse here, a whole bunch of guys. Kwame, I mean, I think this is maybe Kwame, like, he had a solo album too, a couple records. That was really cool. Some of these guys almost look a bit like the younger versions of Souls of Mischief as well. Got the hieroglyphics. I don't know if you can see it there. Hieroglyphics logo, which is just like a smiley face kind of thing. Well, a flat smiley face. So yeah, there you go. By the way, the name of the album, didn't even tell you guys the name of the album. That's the debut. It's I Wish My Brother George Was Here. It definitely feels in that kind of like slightly alt hip hop phase, slightly Daisy Age or Native Tongues. Like it feels like I mean, yeah, like The Soldier Mischief and Hieroglyphic Crew was kind of like a West Coast version in a sense of Native Tongues. Native Tongues being, Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Queen Latifah was even in on that for a bit. Jungle Brothers, they kind of led the way in the late '80s. Hieroglyphics is a little later crew, um, but yeah, despite all that, yeah, I mean it's a solid record, top to bottom. I would give this. I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10, but I could have maybe scaled that back to 7 out of 10. Maybe with a better pressing or reissue, a proper reissue, maybe it would get up to 8 out of 10 with just slightly better production or pressing. But yeah, no, just side two kind of gets a little bit tired, and there's just maybe a little too many songs. Like, man, if you had to trim this back to say 5 and 5, 10 tracks instead of 14, or even 12 instead of 14, would have been a tighter release. But there it is, Del Funky Homosapian and 9 Inch Nails, two records I have not listened to in 100 years in my collection. They're just sitting on the shelf in my hip hop section and in my sometimes punk or industrial section, depending on where I'm putting some of these records these days. So that is my last installment of these February Forgotten Finds. Thanks again to George. Check out his channel if you don't already know it. You probably do if you're watching this. I'll put the link below. I'll see you guys on the next one.